Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the channel on this beautiful sunny day here on coronavirus lockdown. I hope you're all keeping safe out there. Now, while we've had time to think about things that we want to change and things that we want to do, here with the Roma 240, I've been sat on my sofa thinking, do you know what, something just isn't quite right. But I'll turn it around and we'll have a look at the tank and I'll tell you. So here's my tank currently, and I'm on day 12 of a fishless tank cycle. And we have got the CO2 running at the back with the flex. As you've already seen the CO2 tank, which I don't need to see, and obviously this is looking like a horror film at the minute. The wood is all covered in this biofilm, which is actually the bacteria eating the sugars in the wood, and that will disappear after a few weeks. I've put a few more plants in there to try and help with the cycle and the nitrogen and everything else that goes with it. But what I have noticed here is that this far end, if you look at the actual intake and the outtake, the out pump valves up there is very, very little water flow, if any, at this far end. And while the CO2 checker is regulating and showing me that the CO2 is actually getting in this tank, everywhere that I read online tells you that increased water flow will help the plants. It will help with the detritus along the bottom get into that filter, which is actually behind this piece of wood, which doesn't help as well. So what I decided to do was I was going to buy a piece of kit or a power head in order to be able to help me with the water flow in this tank, and that should help the plants. It should help the fish eventually once we get some livestock in there. But my ammonia levels are still extremely high even after 12 days, and I don't know whether that's normal. Just do me bug. So what I decided to buy was one of these. I bought a power head, and this one is the Hydor Koralia Generation 3 power head, and this comes with three different filters, which we will look at to give a softer flow or a more intensive flow. Now, these are magnetic and they fit on the tank, and while it is going to take up some space on this tank, they're not let's face it, they're a little bit ugly to be sticking in there, but really, if it's a benefit to the fish and the animals and the plants and everything else that goes in this tank, including the aeration and moving that CO2 around, then this is a winner. This was around £65, but we'll open it up, have a look, and get it in the tank and see what we think. So here we are. This is the Hydor Koralia. This is the 5000 3.5 watt version. I really didn't want to go for the bigger one, as I think it's a little bit overkill for this tank, as I just want some flow in the tank and not an actual wave maker. Now, this thing has got an anti-vibration system, and it actually fits to the outside of the tank using a magnet system. And this is what you actually get in the box. We get the airflow pump, the Koralia. We get these different filters which enable you to be able to either have a strong flow, medium, or just a gentle flow coming out of there. We get the actual pump itself, which is quite heavy, to be honest with you. This feels quite sturdy, quite a beefy piece of kit, with a UK plug, thankfully. So we got this from swell.co.uk. Now, everything on here is magnetic, so that you don't need to use suckers on the actual tank, and they connect via these strong magnets. This actually goes on the outside of the tank, and then this part is what holds the actual pump, and this is magnetic as well, and that is already stuck on there via a magnet, and that goes on the inside of the tank. Then it is simply a matter of just sticking this on there, and you can change that in any position you want just by literally moving it. A little bit difficult with one hand, but you can just move this wherever you want. Quite a really easy system. And this here is just to wrap around the wire, so as it comes out of your tank, it looks a little bit neater. So that's the basic gist of what you get in the tank. And of course, you get an instruction manual, which I'll have a quick flick through, and then we'll install this on the tank, and I'll give you a review on what I actually think. Well, I will be honest with you, the instructions are absolutely garbage. Unless you've got eyeballs like an eagle, you're going to struggle to read them, they're that tiny. But it does show a little diagram on there in French saying that this should be disregarded, not even in English. So just make sure that you remove this, because it makes the magnet like 1,000,000 times stronger. Now, regarding these attachments here, these three attachments, again, the instruction manuals don't tell you anything. You've got to actually look on the back of the box. the back of the box here, you can see that the top one there is a small fish guard for protection of small fish and shrimp. The second one is a medium fish guard for protection from small to medium fish, and the bottom one, the roundish one, is for a wider and gentle flow, which is what we'll actually be attaching today. So that will be this one. And from what I'm led to believe, they literally just snap into place. Oh, I can't do it with one hand, but they literally just snap into place like that. So now that we've actually got the floor one on there, they literally just snap in. We're going to now attach this cable tidy, which you just untwist and you wrap it around the cable, which can be a little bit fiddly to get it going. There we go. I'm going to push that up to the end. I know it's hard for you to see, but I'm literally just wrapping this around the cable. One thing I wanted to say as well is, if you're going to buy this and you have this pump at the end of your aquarium where I actually want to put mine, the actual length on this is not very long, which is really unfortunate because it means I'm going to have to run this wire around the back of the tank at the back, and it's a little bit unsightly. Because the cable is so short, it literally will not run along the top of the tank down to where my plugs are down here, so I'm kind of having a second thought. I did want it at this side to be able to push the CO2 bubbles across the tank. What I'm actually thinking now is that maybe it may be a better idea to actually position it on this side and push this water flow down this way. I know the two flows at the back are pointing that way as well, but they're really quite weak. So I'm hoping that this flow across the bottom may push and it may circulate around. So I think this on this side is where we're going to be putting it, somewhere down here, so the water flow can go under this piece of wood. So we have our two pieces now, and I'm going to roughly put this on the side of the tank, which you may not see because of the reflection. So what I may do is I'm going to line these up now roughly where I think we want it. I've got my towel ready just in case we don't get too wet. So I think I'm going to be putting the pump around here to blast that water over the top of this actual thing. So I'm going to take this magnet and put it on the side. I'm not getting any... Why are we not getting any magnetism there at all? Because it was in the wrong place because of the refraction. So that is really quite strongly stuck on there right now. So what we'll do is we'll drop in the Koralia. I've just knocked the top off. Let me just get that back on. Right, so now we can get our gizmoid. We can drop that into the water. In she goes. Make sure we've got no air bubbles in there, and that will literally snap, as you can see, directly into place, and we can move that just by pulling it off and changing it, the position, to literally wherever we want. What a brilliant idea. And of course, if we wanted to move this actual back plate here, I hope you can see this, it would be really quite easy. So as we want the flow to go above this piece of wood, let's just position it. In fact, it may be better if we flow it downwards. Flow it downwards so that the flow goes under the wood. That might keep some of the detritus off. So I'll dry my hands, we'll plug it in, and we'll have a look. Well, of course, all my double plugs are taken up because some of the timers and some of the plugs for the lights, they overlap each other. So I'm going to have to take the CO2 out for now, and let's plug her in and let's have a look. There we go, she's in. She's in, and she's blowing all that mess all over the tank now as it blows away all that biofilm which is actually on the wood. But you can see there is quite a fact that this is blowing all the detritus all over the place. Shows you that this filter is working quite well, and it is blowing. We may have to readjust it there, but if I come back here a little bit, you can see the particles are now all flying around here. So while this is bad for the filter, you can see that this is actually creating quite a nice flow in the tank here. You can see the bubbles here flowing this way along the tank. So hopefully once that CO2 comes in, this really should help us. I can see already that the detritus is coming back round here, and it is floating back round the other side round to the filter. So this thing is really going to help. You can see there's quite a nice flow here now coming down here. I will have to clean that filter out from all this biofilm, which is just horrendous on this actual piece of wood, and it looks like it's blasting it. So I may reposition that now so it blows the water underneath. But unfortunately, I'm now going to need a double plug, because if I can show you the nightmare down there now, everything was neat and tidy and labelled. Because these timer plugs are so big, they overlap, double up here, and I can't get that in now. So just another thing in the hobby for us to think about. But there's lots of aeration there from this air stone, which I may do a review on at some point if you're interested. But that is the Koralia Generation 3 from Hydor. As I fall over here, that's my tank at day 12, as we are waiting for it to cycle before we can get some shrimps in and things like that. And it's already taken up some of my plants, my moss. I'll have to put that back in. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the state of play. This thing, it really works. They are a little bit expensive, but like everything else in the hobby, you can't get what you pay for. See you in another video. Coming real soon. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, and I'll see you on the next video. So I thought I would do a really quick update now that I've got most of the items in and it's got a little bit darker. I've actually moved it from this corner and I've placed it here, purely because now the wire is round the back here and it's covered up over the tank and you can't really see it. But what it also means is that I've moved the diffuser to this position here. And why, you may be asking yourself, why have you done that? Well, it means that the bubbles that are coming up from the diffuser here are getting blasted by the power head, and it's creating a beautiful swirl all over the tank. I don't know if they're going to come out on this video very well, but it's creating a beautiful swirl here as the CO2 gas is now blown all over the tank and all over the plants, whereas before they were just rising at the back and disappearing straight up. So this really is blasting these bubbles all over. Now, whether that's visually the nicest thing to look at all the time is debatable. It's the visual aspect of these micro bubbles all over, because you can get different types of diffusers. This is very effective with the bubbles being all over the tank and these plants. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are on different types of diffusers and where you place them in the tank, and whether this is a good idea to have the power head here actually blowing these bubbles here. I wanted to create this flow across the tank, and I've also positioned the bubbles at the back to give more flow and power this way, to try and create a swirl around this area. But that is, at the minute, what we've actually got. And if we can have a look around the side here, let's move around. I will be doing a review on the algae scraper and a few other little bits. As you can see, there is a fine mist of bubbles here. I hope it comes out on the video. And all these plants down here now have actually, they're not moving a huge amount, but there is a little bit of movement here, which means that there is actually water flow coming to this end of the tank, which is what we want. I've also moved the heater to try and be in line with this, so that when you look at it from the front, it's not as visible. But I can see clearly in there now the rain has gone. I can see all these micro bubbles are all over this side of the tank, and you can see them very clearly at the other side at the front there, meaning that all those plants at the back are going to be getting the CO2 that they actually need. And there's the tank down there. But give me your thoughts on there. That's just been a little update plus on where I've decided in the end to actually put it. But it looks beautiful, but the bubbles do kind of spoil it a little bit. I haven't seen any of the plants pearling as yet, but again, let me know if that is normal with the tank. It's only on its day 13, I think we're on, or day 12, and that's where we're at with the Roma 240.